Hi, it's me, the autistic Gen X software dev with anxiety and major fucking depression. But some call me Tim. And I wanted to wish everybody out there a happy new year. Thank you so much for all the love that you've shown me over the last year. I appreciate it. And now we're in a new year. Some things that I want to talk about. One, I remember a first sergeant in the Army, and he said when January would roll around, right? He would talk about exercise, and he would say starting is the hard part. Any intelligent person would have looked at him, and this was part of when I realized that people are really dumb. No, starting is not the problem. Continuing is the problem. Gyms are full of people in January. Everybody started. And then in March, they're empty. So, no, you're completely wrong. Sorry. It's just wrong. I think consistency is what we need. That is my goal for 2026. Oh my God, it's 2026. That's my goal. Consistency. Just be consistent. Instead of trying to exercise for a month, go crazy, and then forget it and drop it. How about we just do some light stretching and a little cardio, maybe some strength all year? That's probably much better. Same with software. I'm going to work on something every day, a little bit at a time, and not give up on it. And also not go crazy and play. Yeah. Code for 12 hours a day. Cause I can really get into shit. And then like Factorio, I played the crap out of it and then I burn out. Like Minecraft, you fire up a world and play for 2 weeks and then, you peter off. But this year I have a secret weapon to being productive. Is a little video I found. I got to put a link in the comments. And I say that knowing full well I will forget, but somebody will remind me and I'll probably add a comment and pin it because that's how I roll. Basically, as a professor, he just said, what if laziness is simply thinking about the energy and the work something is going to take rather than focusing on the outcome? So what if laziness is simply thinking about what it's going to take to do a thing instead of the results of that thing? And so if you don't feel that way, if you're just like, hey, I want to go get some food, it's snowing, and you go anyway. Why? Because you weren't thinking about, oh, it's snowing, it's going to be cold, and we'll do this, and maybe I'll get in an accident, and I don't have the money to fix my car right now. And no, you're just thinking about, I want Korean chicken wings. That would be amazing, and I can't afford a Uber, or a DoorDash, so I'll go get it myself. And you get it, and you come back, and you eat it, and it was great. Where I would have not done it and been sad. And I do that a lot. I think about the effort it's going to take because ever since going to college and figuring out I'm not stupid and becoming a software engineer, I overthink everything. And so a lot of times it hit that like decision paralysis where I can't make a decision because there's so many things in my mind that could go wrong and thinking about how hard it's going to be. And then I just browse Reddit or YouTube. So that's my goal for this year, to keep in mind that laziness might simply just be thinking about all of the work when all you have to do is stop and focus on the fantasy. What if? And then you get a little dopamine rush from that because it feels good. And then, you can move on and you get it done and you're like, wow, I did it. These are all theoretical, mind you. I haven't done any of that because I have crushing anxiety, but I'm going to work on it. So yes, we covered exercise, which starting is not the hard part. That guy did not know what he was talking about. A lot of people have given me advice. and I realize they don't know what they're talking about. And so I've also decided to pick up Unreal Engine. I'm actually going to give it a try. I'm going to work with it for the entire year. I'm not going to give up. It is frustrating because I downloaded a jungle world and it wouldn't open the level. It was so powerful. So I got to remember that I don't have a ridiculously crazy development machine anymore. It might have been like 6 years ago, but not anymore. So I just got to keep things down a little, be a little, less ambitious, and realize that. And here's the other thing I realized is that tutorials are dumb. You shouldn't watch a tutorial from anybody who doesn't actually make games with Unreal Engine, which is basically every single fucking tutorial out there. And so don't do it. Learn from Unreal Engine's examples and documentation and stuff. They added AI to their documentation, so now you can get wrong answers really fast that sound correct from their AI, which seems to be trained on all of the YouTubers that don't know what the fuck they're doing. And so, good job, Epic. But the reason I'm doing this, and I have strayed away from this engine for forever because it's just so bloated and big and horrible. And I think that is really in the context of a AAA game, working on a AAA game. And it's like, God, man, they got to have a whole infrastructure in place to build it every night. And then you go in and get a list of builds and you scroll down until you find one that actually worked. Download that, open it up. Okay. Compile, go walk for 20 minutes, come back. Okay. It's just really slow and horrible. But I don't think it has to be that way because small projects seem fine. But I digress. The reason I'm going to do this when I've never done it before is thanks to John Romero, who did an interview. I don't remember what the interview was. Maybe I can find that clip and put it in the comments too. But basically he said, he made the first person shooter, first person shooter. Right. So, Doom was that was the shit. He said back then you didn't have any books or anything to know about how to do game dev. You had to understand every single byte of memory in the computer. And it was hard work. He's like, it's just the same now, except it's Unreal. So you don't have to do that hard, low level stuff, but it's just as hard. Don't think that because there's an engine, it's going to be any easier. You're going to run into the same amount of problems, whether or not you were writing your own engine or using Unreal. So why use Unreal? Why not just use Unity or Godot or any of the, okay. And here he said, so one, it's going to be just as hard whether you make it yourself or you use Unreal. Two, Unreal is the only game engine that is used by the company to make their games, right? They make Fortnite with Unreal. It works. They have hundreds of people working on it all the time. And they're working with all these companies that use it to make games. And when it gets hard, when things are not performant, you have to switch to C++. So you can see why indies would just abandon it, because they don't know how this stuff works. It's very hard to figure it out. And I always assumed for some reason that it would be easy. Well, it's Unreal Engine, so they made an engine, so it should be easy. No, it's just as complicated as doing it yourself, except instead of writing everything yourself and fighting with all that, now you're fighting with just trying to make the game, which I'm going to try. We're going to see, So far, can't get anything to work as expected. Go to the documentation and it's wrong. I type AI how to do something and it's telling me to, open up blueprints that don't exist and to call blueprint functions by some name. And I'm like, okay, well, that name's not in there. And the AI is like, oh, well, yeah, it's not called player controller. It's get player controller ID extended or, whatever. And then to do that. And it's like, okay, I did that. Now what? And it's, why are you doing that? You should use, and it goes back to the hallucination it had from before. So it's not any better than doing it yourself. It's just, what problems do you want to have later? And I think the problems that I'm going to run into later are problems that people that just want to make a game and don't know anything about programming are going to have a hard time. But I'm perfectly fine with doing it in the C++. I actually kind of feel like it'd be easier just to write the code myself than use the blueprints. But I'm going down the blueprint route because that's kind of the expected way you're supposed to use this thing. So there we have it. 2026. What I'm going to do for the year, I'm going to get rid of this shiny forehead, and we're going to remember, laziness is really just focusing on the wrong thing. Flip that around and get that dopamine going, and you'll be productive. Well, we'll see. And use Unreal Engine, not use a engine. He didn't say use a engine. He was like, you have to use Unreal. It's written in C++. Any company you go to, their engine is written in C++. Period. The people that make Godot and Unreal or Unity, they don't make games. Unity doesn't make games. They make a game engine that doesn't really, it doesn't really work. It's pretty crappy. Same with Godot. And then you start getting down to the smaller stuff, like you can use Odin and use, Raylib or Sokol or one of these libraries and get down in the weeds. It's going to be just as hard. You're going to have to learn just as many things. And when you're done, I think that the game you'll have will be, could have been so much better if you just used Unreal and worked through all of those problems instead. I'm not sure that's true. I've never used Unreal for more than a couple weeks before I give up on the damn thing. So maybe, I don't know, maybe this is the time. Maybe. And the other thing, my goodness, so many things. The other thing that I stumbled upon is the 5-second rule, which says it's something like when you decide to do a thing, you have about 5 seconds to do the thing. And if you don't start right then and there, you start coming up with excuses why you shouldn't do it. And you're not going to do it. You're going to hem and haw and wander around. And eventually you're going to bring up the internet and doom scroll because that's just easier. So, 5 seconds. So I've been doing this when I start to do a thing and I'm like, I go, wait, I just start, open up the app, fire up the web browser and look at the tabs come up for documentation and the thing you're working on. Oh yeah, and get back into it. And then you just start doing it. And then when you get tired, stop and remember, nope, let's focus on the positive, focus on the results, get that dopamine from the fantasy of being the greatest game designer to ever live or whatever it is you're doing. And then use that to stupidly stumble forward and maybe make more progress than I usually do anyway. And wow, this video has gone way over, but that's all right. I took a lot of time off for the holidays. There was a bit of sadness and depression in there, and also some great things, and got to see my family and everyone came over and it was great. And it was a good holiday, but now time to move forward. So thanks everybody for joining me on this crazy ride. And until next time, peace.